Hello, my name is Elagato, and I'm here to discuss today whether or not ballet should be considered a sport. Here to give their opinions on this piece is ex ballet dancer Addison Alvarez. Addison, what are your thoughts on whether or not it should be considered a sport?
I think it definitely is. As you said, it's really intense and, it takes years to even get on point. So I definitely think that it really is hard and takes a lot of commitment and time. And also, other athletes, like people that play football, do take ballet classes to get better at football. So I think that also is a factor into it.
Could you tell us a thing or two about what was most intense to you and how it could be compared to training in a sport?
Well, for me, I think having to perfect your releve and your out turns and all that type of stuff can be very intense and hard. And that's why it takes a lot of dancers years to even get on point or pre point. I just think you have to have a lot of flexibility and strength.
You had just mentioned point and pre point. Could you describe a little bit to the listeners what that is?
Pre-point is what getting yourself ready to go on point, but you're basically going on a hard surface and you go on top, and it's very intense. If you ever seen dancers feet, it's all bruised up, all cut. People lose fingernails, like it's really gross. But pre-point just gets you ready, and it does take a long time to get on point. It takes probably years. I was on pre-point before I stopped, and I had been doing dance for 5 or more years, so it definitely takes a long time.
And could you tell us a little bit more about football players who take ballet, as you mentioned?
I know that professional football players, have to take ballet classes to help them with their strategies or with their flexibility and stuff like that. So I think that's definitely a big factor in it being a real sport, because it helps other people with their sports. So I think that proves a lot.
Okay, thank you so much, Addison. Here to provide a contrary is Lillian Street.
I don't really think ballet should be considered a sport because I used to take ballet at the Strauss Center, and I feel like it's more of an art really because I know it requires like you have to like build your endurance and stuff like that, but I just don't I just think it's more for like entertainment, like something you watch.
And do you think it could be argued that sports like football are just as much for entertainment as they're more broadcast than ballet is?
I feel like that football players have to do a lot more strenuous things than ballet dancers because like they get injured a lot, like they get concussions, like you can die being a football player, like it's really dangerous.
What do you think about the amount of injuries that ballet dancers can have on their muscles and on their toes and things? It's very easy to pull muscles and break toes, and there's a lot of 10 plus hour tedious rehearsals. Do you think that could be comparable to what football players go through or no?
Kind of, but not really. I know they have to like being on point that hurts your toes like a lot, but I just don't think it's.
Thank you so much, Lillian. Here to provide an outsider point on someone who's never taken a ballet class is Ava Carlos. Ava, what do you think about it? Do you think ballet should be considered a sport or not?
I think that it would be extremely unfair to those who have spent their entire life working on ballet and practicing just so that they can get on point or pre point, like Addison said, to discredit it and say it's not a sport. I fully think that if you're spending that much time and effort and you're having competitions and all of this stuff, then why would it not be considered a sport? I honestly believe that the only reason why ballet wouldn't be considered a sport is for reasons rooted in misogyny because of the fact that ballet is a predominantly woman focused activity. It's very odd to me, as someone who's never taken a ballet class, that the amount of time and effort would be discredited just because of the fact that it is also a very artistic activity. In my opinion, it's comparable to like any other kind of dance or any other kind of gymnastics. It requires a lot of the same strengths as gymnastics, and I think most people could agree that gymnastics is considered a sport. But because of the femininity in ballet, I think that many people often don't believe it is a sport because sports are for boys.
Thank you so much, Ava. I really love that point you brought up. I fully agree with the fact that I think that because football is seen as very traditionally masculine, same thing with like basketball and soccer, they're very much masculine sports that people see that way. And then things like ballet, people see as very feminine, something girls do, so they don't think it can take as much athleticism as something boys do. According to GarfieldMessenger.org, it says that a sport is an activity involving physical exertion, skill, and competition. So, what do you think? Is ballet a sport? Signing off, Elagato.
Addison Alvarez.
Lillian Street.
And Ava Carlos.